Okay, hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to our beginners trading course. So today I wanted to go through a few things. I want to make sure that everyone is comfortable with the trading strategy and the trading goals for the Kairos Empire and how we're going to help you become independent, successful traders. So out of interest, who has seen the traders game plan? So this consists of you being in the beginners group, moving on to the intermediate group, and then the master traders group. If you've seen it, can I please get some number ones in the group chat? Fantastic. Right, look at the sea of ones. If you haven't seen it, can I please get some number twos? Okay, so everyone must have seen it. Okay, so for those of you who have just started, are you in the beginners trading group? If you're in the beginners trading group, can I please get the number one? And with the beginners trading group, have you gone through the beginners checklist? So are you aware of the tasks that you should be doing to make sure that you progress onto the next groups? So I'm just doing a bit of housekeeping now. So after we've gone through this section, what I'm gonna do, all right, not really, great. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go through what's expected of everyone in the beginners group. Okay, we need to get momentum in this, right? Fantastic, glad you can hear me. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go through what is expected as beginners traders, all right? Then I'm gonna go through the Kairos signals. I've had a few people ask me about DAX. So I'm actually gonna go through the DAX strategy again, and I'm gonna walk through some of the setups, the setup I had this week, okay? Thank you, King. So the beginners group has just been posted in the group chat. So if you are not in the beginners group as yet, please find your way to the beginners group. Everybody who starts off with trading must also be in the beginners group and then advance on to the next groups. Okay, so I'm going to go through what's expected of you to be in the beginners group. Then I'm going to walk through the Kairos signal group, okay, and the best way to approach the Kairos signals. And I'm going to walk through the DAX trade that I sent out this week, because I've had a few people message me about DAX and you know, wanting to hear a bit more about how I, you know, found the signal, and yeah, people wanting to know more about the DAX strategy that I use to trade DAX. So I'm going to quickly walk through this. So let me just get the group up in my chat. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. So okay, cool. So, oh, and by the way, my niece is up and about, and she likes to like try and run away from her mom to come into my room. So if you see anyone's head bobbing along in the background, yeah, you've been warned. I can't help it. Anyone with kids under the age of 2 know that they are not controllable at all. They have a mind of their own. So anyways, I'm going to share my screen. Now, if you have joined the beginners group, the beginners Telegram group, okay, you would have seen that there's a message tagged at the top, which gives you a checklist. All right, so this beginners Kairos Empire beginners checklist, and in this checklist it gives you like the course. So what it outlines is simply this. Key. It shows you, hold up. It tells you to go through the beginners course on WoW. Okay, so I'm just going to log into WoW and so you can see it. It also tells you to go through the risk management training that we did. Okay, and there's a video that is attached to the checklist. All right, so if you come into WOW, and if you go to the menu and you go into Academy, okay, in here you've got the basic masterclass and the Forex basics. So the idea is that you should be completing both the Forex basics and the basic masterclass. Now, for those of you who have MindHub, if you've just been on the training that King Clifford and Jerome went through about 2 hours ago, you would have heard this as well. So you would have heard this as well. Now, you should be making sure that you either use MindHub or WOW. Now, for those of you who have a silver or gold package, you will have access to MindHub. Now, here is where you've got the courses, okay? So if you go to my courses, all right, okay, so under my courses, if you go to learn the basics of Forex, if you complete this course, you get a certificate at the end. And that is you essentially saying you've been able to get through the testing, get through all of the information on there, and you understand the basics, which is where you want to get to. Okay. Now, so once you've completed either the Learn the Basics Forex course on MindHub, for those of you who are a silver or bronze holder, or you've done the Forex Basics and the Basics Masterclass in WOW, for those of you who don't have, or just like the use of WOW, you can get this from here. Once you've completed this, all right, you have to also watch the risk management training that is attached to this course, this checklist. And my computer has decided to freeze. Sorry. Okay. So hold on, let me just refresh. So you have to complete that. And then finally, you have to complete 100 pips in your demo account. So everyone should have a demo account set up. Why? Because practice makes perfect. And the goal is for you to become master traders, right? So you need to be practicing, you need to be applying what you're learning. You know, knowledge without application or faith without works is dead, right? So you need to be able to do the things that you're learning. So out of interest, has everyone got a demo account set up? If you've got a demo account set up, can I please get some number 5s in the group chat? Wonderful, fantastic. Perfect. Cool. So once you've completed this checklist, guess what? We get responses. So I can see all your responses. I can see all your emails, everyone who has completed this checklist. Okay. So be sure to make sure you are completing this checklist. Okay. And therefore being advanced into the intermediate group. Now, if you've not seen the intermediate group, in the intermediate group, okay, we have chats. For those of you who are in the intermediate group right now, can I get some flames in the group chat? You know, in the intermediate group. Cool, fantastic, fantastic. Are you in the intermediate group, Abdi? Okay, message me on Telegram if you are not in the intermediate group, but you've completed the beginners, or in fact, message your upline who should be able to add you to the intermediate group. But I will message us both, both. Right, so in the intermediate group, okay, we chat, we talk about trade ideas, we go through news, okay? We have a lot of interesting, okay, yes, the call is being recorded, and cool, someone has a question, feel free to ask away. Cool. So in the intermediate group, all right, same concept. We've got a whole load of great stuff happening in here. You know, people are talking about trade ideas. People are, you know, like for example, sharing trade ideas. We're posting things in here, and we also have live trading calls. So we actually trade live together. All right. Then just like the beginners group, in here you have a checklist. So you have an intermediate checklist where you have to go through the tasks. Okay. You have to go through the tasks. You have to make sure you're getting the tasks done. All right, no problem at all. So be sure to make sure you're in these groups, because the goal is to get to the master trader group. And in the master trader group, this is where you're going to challenge yourself. This is where you're going to have a compound sheet where you're going to be trying to get to 10K in 10 weeks or 100K in 10 weeks from £1,000. Okay, now there is a nice prize as well, you know. So if you make 10K in 10 weeks, you can be up for potentially getting a 50K account that has been gifted by one of our 7-figure traders on this platform. So you don't want to miss out on the opportunity. Do not go sleeping in the intermediate group. There is a goal in sight. Now, is everyone aware of our Pip Club? If you are catching pips, pipping in cash, pip pip hooray, can I get some flames in the group chat? If you've already started trading and you're making money in your live account, you're catching pips, you know, put some flames in the group chat. Wonderful. Dollar, dollar. I see some dollar signs. Now, if you're doing that, we want to celebrate you. We have a Pip Club. So for those of you who reach 100 pips, 500 pips, 1,000 pips, 2,000 pips in your 5,000 pips in your live account, we want to celebrate you. So please, please, please make sure that you are letting myself or Cliff or your upline know, okay, that you've caught X amount of pips so we can celebrate you and put you in the Pip Club. Okay. Those of you that get to the 5,000 Pip Club level, there is actually a prize. You see, you people are slipping on prizes. But there is actually a prize for those of you who reach the 5K Pip level. So don't sleep on this. Let us celebrate you. Let us put you in the Pip Club, okay? Who's getting into the Pip Club? If you're coming into the Pip Club, can I please get the Pip Club in the group chat? If you're coming into this Pip Club, you know, fantastic. Yes, wonderful. Okay. Now, another group that I want to showcase. Not this. Where is that? I've got so many groups, I can't even find it. 1 second. Okay. Here is our Kairos Signal group. Now, if you're not in this Kairos Signal group, can I please get an X, just so I know you're not in it? If you are in it, say yes. Okay. Now, this Signal group is run by some of us traders who are sending out trade ideas. And as you can see, yesterday was a beautiful day. Only 2 losses, and on average, I think we made around, let me just quickly, around 600 odd pips in total, even including the losses. So there was definitely people, if you caught these trades in the Kairos Signal group, you would have been pipping in cash, you would have been securing your Pip Club entry and making money in the meantime as well. Guys, if you've been loving these Kairos signals, can I get some flames in the chat? You know, King Cliff has been going crazy. He went crazy yesterday. Now I want to go through DAX. And in essence, whilst going through DAX, I'm essentially going to be going through all indices in essence, all right? And in fact, USD as well. I'm going to be talking about one particular market nuance that happens. And I'm going to be walking through this theme. So when it comes to trading, okay, when we talk about trading, people often assume that trading has to be difficult, but it isn't. It isn't. Simply put, trading is about finding the right time to buy and the right time to sell. And when you understand that, when you understand when it's the right time to buy, when it's the right time to sell, then trading becomes more of a tactical thing as opposed to guesswork, okay? Now, one thing I would say about trading, specifically DAX, I'm mainly talking about DAX, but a lot of this is general in terms of trading Forex, is that certain currencies like to repeat itself. So things, yes, will be prices impacted by what happens in the market, what happens in the economy, you know, price is impacted by fundamentals. However, those impacts tend to be short-lived. So what do I mean by that? If you are able to master a currency pair and you've studied it, you understand the way it moves, how it reacts to news, how it, you know, moves in terms of its market structure, okay? You can start seeing patterns exist, and that regardless of whether news happens or not, these patterns are always going to maintain, okay? So I'll give you an example. Okay, for example, today there was news that basically spoke about a scandal of some potential financial crimes in the banking industry, because some trillions of dollars that could potentially be linked to money laundering had been hidden. And there's a lot of investment banks that have been named in this scandal. You would expect markets to have reacted crazy, right? You would have expected, you know, prices to have dipped left, right, and center. But the reality is, there was dips. There was 80 pip swings. There were dips, but price maintained its structure. So yes, there was that interim impact, that initial impact of fundamentals. However, price tends to respect its structure. So if you study the structure, understand the zones, understand the mechanics and of how price moves in a currency pair, you can be comfortable to know that, you know, you are in control of when you decide to go into a market and when you decide not to. Does this make sense to what I'm saying right now? If this is making sense to you, can I please get some numbers in the chat? Just make sure that everyone understands what I'm saying, okay? Simply put, when it comes to trading, you just want to understand when it's a good time to buy, when it's a good time to sell. And the key is to master a specific strategy by learning and mastering a currency pair. You don't need to be a jack of all trades. You know, when I think of it, you know, everyone has their favorite currency pair that they trade, or one that they're familiar with. When you start trading, you start thinking, oh, I like the feel of this one. Now, drop some of the currency pairs that you like looking at. Drop some of the currency pairs that you like looking at. UCAD, oh, yep. GU, okay. See, everyone has one. Everyone has a currency pair that they like the idea of trading. Okay. Now the idea is, how many of you have actually looked at the history of that currency pair? So I mean, you've scrolled back, months back, years back, you've scrolled back to see, okay, this time last year, what happened? Have you done that? And if you have done that, what did you notice? Okay. It's okay if you haven't. I'm just giving you an idea. So for example, I'll give you an example, all right? Now in the intermediate group last week, last Friday, I sent this message about the quadruple witching hour. Now, there are certain fundamentals, I know I'm contradicting myself, but there are certain fundamentals that have an impact on price. So, because these are instrumental, okay? Okay, so for example, on Friday, I sent this message to the group to say, cool, Friday is a quadruple witching hour, which happens 4 times a year. Agree. Brexit was world worse than financial. Yes, yes, it is. And you know, October's coming up, Tabani. You know what's happening in October in terms of Brexit. Let's see what's going to happen in the GBP markets. It's going to be an interesting one. I'll tell you that for free. So if you guys are trading pound GBP pairs, you know, Brexit deadline coming up in October next month. So we're going to be seeing some interesting moves on Brexit. Yeah, yeah. Cool. So as I was saying, quadruple witching. Now, what is the quadruple witching? Let me just quickly go into it so people can see it. Right. This is when, This is when stocks, futures, you know, derivatives, all of them expire simultaneously. It happens 4 times a year in March, June, September, and December on the 3rd Friday of the month. Okay, in March, June, September, and December. Yes, quadruple witching. It can be called triple witching, quadruple witching, it's double witching, it's the same thing. What it essentially is that it's a time of year when stock futures, indexes, options, everything expires, okay? So why is this important? Because there's a lot of indices such as DAX, US30, NAS 100, etc., US 200, all of the indices that are a measurement of a group of stocks will be impacted because these stock options are going to expire. Now, when stock options expire, what tends to happen as a transaction in the market is that there's a massive expiration of trades, i.e. all trades close down. So they sell off, okay? And then after the sell-off, the new contracts come into play. So there is an exchange between the sellers and the buyers in the market. Now, because there are multiple options and futures that tend to expire at the same day 4 times a year, because these are quarterly, all right? Because there are multiple doing that, you often see a huge impact on indices. And if there's an impact on indices, those tend to have an impact on, for example, the dollar index. So you will see an impact on US pairs, gold, like for example, gold, US pairs, and you will see an impact on indices. So 4 times in a year, March, June, September, December, this quadruple witching takes place. So this is something I have like marked out my calendar. I also mark out NFP, that's every first Friday of the month. Okay, so we all know what NFP is, we all know what quadruple witching is now. Now, the quadruple witching for September took place on Friday, and so we were expecting a sell-off. So if I go back to the chat, you know, I said, I don't normally trade on Fridays, but if anyone's looking, possible sells today. Fundamentals suggest bearish moves, look for zones like M's and zigzag, all right? Now, as you can see, in fact, let me go to the actual chart, oh God, right, as you can see, DAX did a massive sell-off. In fact, it dropped like 500 pips, okay? Oh. Yeah, it dropped about 500 pips. Oh, 600 pips, all right? So it dropped about 600 pips in one day, all right? Now, if you caught this move, can I get some number ones? I also sent it as a signal, all right? If you caught this move. All right, so the reason for this was because of the witching hour. Now, let us have a look in history, because like I said, markets tend to repeat itself. Structures tend to coexist. Doesn't matter really what's happening in the markets, but you know, markets will tend to follow its current structure. So when expiries happen on futures, markets will fall before it climbs, okay? So, for example, we see this dipped over 600 pips, right, on the 19th of June and September. Now in June, what was it, 19th of June, okay. Let me go to, okay, so 19th of June, is around, so okay, and then if I go into the 30-minute, right, if I scroll down, what happened on the 19th of June? There was a drop. Can you guys see that? So on the last quadruple witching hour, there was a drop. Okay. So history repeats itself. And then guess what happened the next day? It kind of climbed up and down, right? Throughout the next couple of days. So what am I expecting for DAX in the next couple of days? If I scroll to today's date, you know, we had a massive drop. And what did we see today? We saw trade prices. Oh, almost there, sorry. I know this is the longest way to do it. Sorry, guys. We saw prices beginning to climb. Now, even though I'm seeing prices climb, I'm not going to go into a buy until when. For those of you who know this strategy, I look for different patterns in DAX. I'm not going to go through all of it today, but one of the patterns that I look for is zigzags. Okay, so I'm on the 30-minute, and you know, you would be able to see this in across time frames. If I go into the 15, you see it a little bit more in the 15. Okay, now you could also see it on the 5-minute. All right, but for example, I'm looking for a zigzag. Sorry, so I was looking at zigzag for DAX. Okay, so let me go into the 30-minute. Cool. So the zigzag here, okay, looks like so. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is the zigzag. All right, so what is a zigzag? A zigzag consists of a leg and a step. So a leg, a step, a leg, a step, a leg. All right, the step is consolidation, right? That is what the step is consolidation, an area of consolidation. Now for zigzag that is trending down, zigzag down, the goal is to enter at the top of the consolidation, all right, to capture the next leg. Now, one of my confirmations is this: a zigzag is not broken unless price reverses back past the previous step. And that is when a zigzag is broken. So if I believe that this is moving trends and it's going upwards, yes, by all means, if I can go, within this consolidation, there's M's, there's W's, you could have taken him up and down. But for me, if I really wanted to capture the buy going back up, I'm looking for an area above the previous step. Why? Because in my strategy, my zigzag is not broken until price passes the previous step. Does that make sense to everyone? Is everyone following that? If you're following that, can I please get some confirmations? Okay, cool. So yes, there's some possible trade ideas here, but I personally like to trade with my confirmations. I could capture some small M's and W's within this consolidation, but the way DAX can move sometimes is really fast. So if your entry is not on point, you will suffer and you have no one to blame but yourself. Sorry. So instead, I would look for entries when I see my confirmation. So for example, I'm seeing this trending upwards, which is expected because last witching hour, which was in June, what happened? Price started making its way back up. So I'm expecting to see the same thing happen this time round. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just literally following the market structure of this currency pair or this index, which is DAX. That's all I'm doing, okay? And it tells me when it comes to the expiration of future options, etc., there's often an exchange between sellers and then buyers. So we've had the sells. Now it's time for the buyers to be coming back in. Yes, there is fundamentals that are in play. For example, an increase in coronavirus cases, etc. These are all negative news in Europe, so which will potentially have an impact on DAX. But I have a feeling that in the next few days we should see that making its way up, okay? Possibly having a mirror effect, like so. Whether it goes all the way back up to 13,100, I'm expecting to at least see a zigzag of some sort up. So where I would potentially enter is when price has passed this previous step. Okay. Okay. Now, let me put this in terms of zones, because I've had people question me around zones and not knowing how to mark up zones, etc. When I talk about zones, we're talking about areas of support and resistance. And a zone is simply an area where price has hit it at least 2 or 3 times. Okay. So, for example, this green line here, okay, price has hit it once. Oh, price has hit it once, twice, 3 times. Okay, you can see how many times price has hit this area. So this is a zone. Okay. Cool. I'm not going to go through the whole strategy today just because of time, but if everyone's happy and if Cliff doesn't mind, I'm happy to do a full session on this strategy that I use to trade DAX on Thursday session. If that's something you want, let me know and I'm happy to do that. But for now, I think it's because of timing, we're gonna, okay, cool, no problem. I'm happy to do that, all right? Cool. So here are the zone. This is a zone right here. Why? Because you have multiple touches. So previously where it was a support, it then became a resistance, okay? What do we mean by support and resistance? A support, price bounces off it. A resistance, okay, it's like a ceiling. So price it can't go past it, all right? Okay, so the goal is to draw up your zones. Now, I've been using zones a lot with DAX, right? Because DAX technically uses zones. I use zones and patterns to find my setups, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and mark up some zones. So if I do it on our chart, let me see. So I tend to try and start, so whenever I go into the market, I always look at the higher time frames, okay? I always go through the higher time frames and then work my way down. All right, so weekly, okay. So on a weekly, you can see here a pattern of some sort forming. It's not clear, but it looks a little bit like a zigzag, okay? Right? Now, okay, cool. Let me clear that. So if I go into daily, okay. So, whew, Friday, that daily candle was a beast, wasn't it? Okay, 4 hour call. So I would normally just mark up my zones. I usually go for the 1 hour and then I'll look for entries on my lower time frames. So let's put these in. So I see an area here. I see an area here. I see an area here. I see an area. Okay, these are not perfect, but you can kind of get the gist. So what I've done, I've marked up zones of where there's either a support or area of resistance. Okay. So I've done that on my hourly chart. Now, if I go to my 15-minute chart, I'm going to be looking within here to see if I can see any patterns. So I trade patterns, right? So I'm going to be looking to see if I can see any patterns. All right. Now, my potential entry for this zigzag up, you know, once it breaks, I'm looking to see when price is going to break this area. I want to see when price is going to break this area. Come on. Right, I want to see when it's going to break this area. So this is 1270. Yeah, I want to see when price is going to break this area. Now, what I would expect price to do, because with zones, what do we look for? What do we look for in order for us to enter when we do zone-to-zone trading? What are we looking for? Break and rejection, break and retest, exactly. We're looking for break and retest. So for this zone, I'm expecting price to break through this zone, okay? retest before climbing. And it's on this retest that I'm going to be looking for entries. DAX will retest. DAX will retest. It does it all the time. Whether that retest is 80 pips later, it will do some retest. And if you're not patient enough, you can get caught out, okay? Because if that drawback is 80 pips and you haven't secured your bag, you'll be sitting there with an empty bag. Okay, so for me, I want to see the body of the candle close within a zone for me to say that it's past that zone. All right, I'll give you an example. You see here, let me zoom in. Okay. Now, some people might have got caught out here, okay, thinking, cool, it's broken through, all right, with that buy candle, and then a sell candle is formed. I'm gonna go in here. But look at where that sell candle finished. Now, what you would look for instead is this. You want it to close here, and then you want it to bounce off. That is your retest. So it breaks through, it closes here, it retests, so it comes back to this support, and then it bounces off. That is what you're looking for in order to go in. Does that make sense? So if ideally you want to, it's not an exact science, but ideally you want to see the body of the candle close above the support or new rejection or new support. You want to see the body of the candle reject on the zone before doing its bounce off, okay? Does this make sense to everyone? So you don't want this, you don't want to be caught out with this. You want to see imagine this is a buy candle, sell candle, and then maybe something that has like a wick of some sort. And then you want to go in right here. Okay. Cool, perfect. And it's that simple, you know. Now, all of these methodologies and stuff, you're going to see it's going to be explained in different ways. You know, some will call it support zones. I will call it zigzags. I'll call it M's, which is a double top, i.e. the tops are touching the support. Okay, W's, which is double bottom, i.e. the bottoms are touching the support, you know, but it's all in all the same thing. It's just finding something that works for you, that is simple enough for you to duplicate over and over and over again, that becomes second nature, okay? So there you got it. Like tomorrow or the rest of this week, potential, I'm going to see what DAX wants to give me, but potentially, you know, I'm going to be looking out for a buy around the 720 area. I'm going to see for it to, you know, test it, retest it, and then boom. That's potentially a, let's see, 100, 300, 400, yeah, about 400 pip move, potentially. So, but with DAX, it's all about risk management as well. Please do not go into it if your account cannot handle it. But yes, so for those of you who asked about how did I didn't actually answer the question, how did I call the signal? Let me see what signal. Sorry guys, let me just find the signal. Okay. Cool, so it was 680. 680. Okay, so it was around here. All right. So I called this at 12,680. That was around the top of this step. That's it. That's basically why I called it. So for the, again, I'm looking at zigzag down. Okay, entry is at the top of the step. I didn't call it here. If I'm really honest, it's because I put a sell stop in and I fell asleep. I woke up and he had already done his move. So early bird catches the worm. Those who are snoozing, you are losing. So, but you know, I caught the next step, which is great. We made a few pips from that. So yeah, anyways, point is from this, you know, 12, when I called it, I'd seen that it done a really strong, healthy zigzag down, big move, and it was consolidating. So when I called it, it was consolidating, all right? And that's when I called it for a sell. Now, although price may potentially climb and stuff, another potential is that it could continue on its journey down, okay, to, what was it, 12:30. Can't see on here, let me go into a higher time frame. Okay, so even though okay, make this another color. Make this another color. Okay. So the question is, do I ever rough estimate the consolidation candles before entering, or just play it by the candles printed? So I play it by what's out there already, you know, and the zones, because like I said, DAX likes to repeat itself. So if you, for example, this zone that we're looking at here in terms of where it's gonna potentially climb up, if it does climb up, isn't new. This zone has been touched before, all right? It isn't new. It's happened before. Same things happened before. So as you can see, it's happened before. It's happened before. So I'm not like here, boom, happened there. So I'm not so it's not as if I'm guessing, but when you draw out your zones, then you have areas that if it breaks that zone, potentially it's going to go up. If it stays within that zone, it's going to keep consolidating within that zone. And you're just basically looking to either get in at the top of that zone for a buy, or at the bottom of that zone for, no, sorry, top of the zone for a sell, or bottom of that zone for a buy. Why? Because you want to buy low, sell high. Okay. But I was saying that with DAX, you know, I'm expecting it to climb and climb back up eventually towards that 13,120 area, or it's going to continue its fall and end up falling towards 4,300 area potentially. That's what I was thinking. So I guess we will see how the rest of the week pans out. How many pips would you take for your risk management? So that is a really good question, Sharon. Now, with DAX, with anything you trade anyways, I'm always stuck between whether I set a nice round number for a stop loss, like 20 pips stop loss or 30 pips stop loss, or I do per what the chart is showing me. So for example, my principle on a zigzag down, I know we've got 2 minutes. My principle on a zigzag down is that price zigzag is not broken unless price reverses back to the previous step, right? So technically that should be my stop loss. But in essence, if I use that principle, this one zigzag down, one leg was 300 pips. So your stop loss could potentially be 300 pips, which is mad. Unless you've got an account that's 6 figures and handle that, it's a bit mad to try and have a 300 pip. Unless you're trying to get 300 pips for a 1,000 pip move, maybe. So for me, that's why entry is super important. Now, I'm a scalper. So what does that mean? I tend to trade in the day, like during the day. I'll come out after a few hours or an hour or a few minutes, whatever. So I can go into a trade, all right? And then I'll wait for it to get into profit, and then I'll place my stop loss in profit. All right. Now, don't do as I do. Nobody should come and cry and say, oh my God, I lost money, right? That's how I scalp. So then I can just leave it as a risk-free trade and I don't need to worry about it. Now, for in terms of setting your stop loss, I would say use the zones. Use the zones as your stop loss areas. So for example, if you're going in, if you wanted to go in for a buy, okay, you went in for a buy on this trade around here, okay, I would set here as my stop loss because that's the previous zone, and that is what about 40, 33, 37 pip, 40 pip stop loss, okay? But my potential pip gain is like 300 pips. So 40 pips stop loss and 300 pips. I can't work out the win ratio, but it's a good one. Let's say it's 30 pips stop loss, 300. That's a 1 to 10. You're risking 1 pip to gain 10. That's a huge, huge win ratio, right? So I would say set your stop losses as per the zones. Okay. Hopefully that answered your question, Sharon. Okay, any more questions before we wrap up? Okay. So for those of you who want to trade DAX or indices in particular, like US 30, I highly, highly recommend that you get a broker that, one, gives you a good leverage, so 1 to 400, for example, and 2, especially for DAX, you're able to trade a minimum lot size 0.01. Now, it really depends as well on your broker, what the value, the dollar value or pound value is for that pip, per pip for that lot size. So, for example, on AxiTrader, okay, let me write down the name. One sec. Where is my juice? I put my juice upstairs. Okay. Cool. On AxiTrader, okay, you can get a 1 to 400 leverage if you choose to be domiciled in St. Vincent and Grenada. And your 0.01 lot size for DAX is equivalent to making 22 cents or 22p. However, with Hugo Sway, for example, it's something different to like 0.1 lot size, which is equivalent to, I can't remember what it is, but it's something like 80p. or something like that for a lot, the minimum lot size and for 1 pip. Now, why you need to know that is because if your account is starting off with £100 or dollars, okay, your risk is going to be very different to a broker that offers you trading with a lot size that is equivalent to 80 cents a pip on the lowest lot size versus a trader that offers you equivalent to 22 cents a pip. Your risk is going to be very different. That's why some people may blow accounts faster than others because of the broker, your entries, etc., etc. So I'd highly recommend, if you are going to trade things like DAX or DAX30, consider the broker that you use for your region. You know, I use Axie Trader. I would say consider a broker that you use for your region and check how much the minimum lot size is. So ideally you want one that's going to give you 0.01, or the lot size is going to be equivalent to, you know, 22 cents or 30 cents or 80 cents, depending on the size of your account. Now, I highly, highly recommend that you look into that. Now, I recommend Axie Trader because that's what I use. Leverage is 1 to 400 that I use. You know, you can be domiciled in St. Vincent and Grenada in order to get that leverage. Okay, guys, we've been over 5 minutes. I don't want to take any more of your time, but I hope this session was useful. As a recap, be sure to make sure you are in the beginners trading group and complete the tasks as quickly as possible so you can move over into the intermediate traders group. Okay, remember to complete the checklist again in the intermediate traders group so you can move over to the master trader group. If you are pipping in cash, make sure you let us know so we can celebrate you and put you into the pip club. Okay, for those of you who reach that 5,000 pip club, there is a prize. Everybody say prize. So just be sure to do that. And on Thursday, I'm going to go through step by step the DAX strategy again so that people have it. And yeah, that was it. Hope everyone has a blessed evening, and I will be speaking to you guys soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.